Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Mustang Mood. Ben DeLeon here with Yannick Land, here in the beautiful month of February, the month of love. And we're back with some more SMU love, just kind of catching up on what's been going on lately. So Yannick's going to kick us off because he got to do something pretty cool today.
Yeah. I thought you were gonna do I thought you were gonna voice the intro, the bah, 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 just go for it, But
I don't know
no,
Jay's
it was
voice.
yeah, we have to have Jay's voice for that. But it was cool. It was a cool day today because got to go and to the SMU. Essentially, it's the media day for the recruiting, and got to talk with Coach Lashley and all the position coaches. Or I only got to talk to three of them because there wasn't a ton of time, but got to hear from Coach Lashley a little bit about the OU LSU thing, which I'm sure everyone is wondering about, and then also just kind of hear about what the status of everything is as everyone's in strength and conditioning right now, moving into spring ball coming up in about a week from now. Um, so to kick off, yeah, a lot of news. Obviously, everyone's going to be thinking OU LSU. Why did we go to a neutral site game? Coach Lashley didn't wait for questions on it. He just opened up the with his in his opening statement. He was like, "Hey, by the way, OU LSU, obviously we love playing games at home, but SMU, we have a great athletic director, great president, and we basically got together and we have a plan to try to get SMU back on the national stage, and there's steps to that." And Coach Lashley's words, is basically, we had to win the American, then we had to come into the ACC, make the move into a Power Four. Then we had to go and make the ACC championship berth, make a playoff berth, and then now have a top 25 recruiting class. These are steps to it, but the next step they believed was playing some of the best schools, and so playing some of the blue bloods of college football. And if it comes down to it, you know, playing them on a essentially a neutral site, right? Um, it's like, would we love to play home games? We'd love to play home games. Coach Lashley made it clear, we're still getting 6 home games that year. So it's not going to take away from 6 games at um, on our home field, but at the same time, it was very important to Coach Lashley that we and to the whole program that we continue to play some of the blue blood programs. He talked about how this was going to be a big impact in terms of recruiting, and one of the things that they're basically building up for is, you know, trying to get guys to come out and see them, and if they think it's going to be a really good opportunity to get a lot of recruits out to AT&T Stadium and to Jerry's World, to come and watch us play both OU and LSU. And so, are we going to be outnumbered? Coach Lashley hopes that we're going to have 35, 45,000 people there. That'd be awesome. But I mean, that's just to be expected. There's a good chance we might be outnumbered there. But he also talked about how this is going to be a really good practice for us because going into the playoffs, a lot of those games, barring the four byes, are neutral site games. And so he said this is going to be really good practice for us. I don't want our first time going to a neutral site game um, to be in the playoffs. And so this is going to give us an opportunity to get our guys acclimated to that kind of climate. And he didn't mention the Penn State game specifically, but I think thinking back on the Penn State game where we looked shell shocked going into that, I think that's kind of his thought is like, let's go ahead and get this out of our way. And frankly, in the playoff champion or the playoff race, it's probably not going to hurt us too much if we end up losing. Like if we lose a close game, then it's going to be this. I'm now hypothesizing myself, right? But if we're in a close game, like, hey, we lost, but we played basically at their home field. Like, they outnumbered us and all that kind of stuff, and we lost by 2, 3. Like, it really doesn't look that bad in terms of our playoff odds, I think. I think those losses wouldn't hurt us too much, whereas a win there could be actually pretty big. And so, kind of like how basketball's moved to more neutral site games, I think in our particular case, it could be good. So, I would much rather play it at home, but at forward. But
Yeah,
it's just what it is, and so we're going to roll with the punches, and if that's what it takes to have the opportunity to play OU and LSU, I guess that's what we're doing.
yeah, and I
Um,
think it's pretty clear by now that, and some people have said this already. Obviously we're not insiders, but that
I don't know.
basically
The
like
stuff that I was hearing today is basically all inside stuff. I
okay,
think
yeah,
we're
that's pretty
insiders at
good.
this point.
I was going to talk about what I heard because I was not there,
Sure.
which I didn't hear anything. Why am I saying what I heard? I didn't hear anything. But basically, yeah, they were gonna. I guess they were gonna buy us out if we didn't agree to this. So
Yeah.
again, and we want to understand both points of view. Both of us, I think, are of the opinion that we would rather play on campus, obviously, but I don't think we're as vocal as and in the opposition as a lot of SMU fans are, including, especially Jay and George. I know we're really upset about it. So we totally understand people who are upset and feel like we're just bowing down to the big bad SEC. Um, Surprisingly, I know everybody that listens that knows me that I'm being optimistic for once. I mean, I would rather play at them at Jerry than not, and maybe that's because I grew up an Oklahoma fan, but um, I still like if the alternative is playing at home against North Texas and Sam Houston State, like I'll take this. Um, I do think it's important what they do with season ticket holders. I have a feeling they're going to have to buy tickets anyways, which I think would be ridiculous. So
I
hopefully the
think they will,
administration's
just because we're still going to have 6 games at home. I think that's what they're
yeah,
setting up for,
yeah, but
which
it's
does
just
suck.
like I mean, you sign up for season tickets because you're thinking that's going to be a home game. Obviously, I mean not this year already, but
Yeah.
um, I don't know. I think that would be a nice gesture at least to the season ticket holders, but I doubt that happens. So, but I still think it's going to
Yep.
be, it's going to be kind of cool going to Jerry World and seeing like, the Mustang on the field and the SMU in the end zones. I think that'll be kind of fun. So, um, I mean,
Hmm.
I just think like we're not at the level of those schools yet, obviously. And this is a stepping stone. Obviously, sets a precedent that this might continue to happen. We hope not, but there's nothing we can do about it. We can be mad all we want, disappointed, but or we could just move on and look forward to the game because I think it's going to be fun to play the big boys. I'll always play the big boys no matter where we go. And I know it seems like a lot of players prefer like a road environment. So
Well, I
sometimes,
think,
so
I think we can win. Like, in all honesty, I think SMU actually has a, like, are we going to be dogs in it? Yeah, we're going to be dogs in it. But if we continue to move forward and Ziegler is what the staff thinks he's going to be, then I think I think it's totally on the table to win. And if we win in that kind of, we'll call it in quotes, a neutral site, which is for OU, it's really a home game. For LSU, it's like at best neutral. But maybe you can call that one neutral site. But if we win that game as what's essentially a home game for OU, I mean that puts us right smack in the middle of the playoff race, and I think that's going to be huge for the program. And I think that's what coach is kind of thinking. Okay, there's an opportunity. What's your downside on it? You lose. That's kind of what people expect. What's your upside? Okay, we're basically in the play, like right in the playoff mix as an
yeah,
at large bid.
and it's early enough to where even if you
Yeah,
lose, there's a lot of season left. So
yeah. So I
yeah,
think that's what coach is kind of thinking along those lines. But I don't know.
but
But
yeah,
I
just
think we can win even with the
yeah,
odds stacked.
yeah, I agree. It'll definitely depend on the quarterback situation, but I mean, obviously, everything recruiting is I was going to say crescendoing. I think that's the opposite of what I'm trying to say. Is
Crescendo just
rising.
means it's peaking. But yeah, no, we're
Okay,
we're on
yeah,
the
okay, so I was
rise.
right. Yeah, and like the future is bright. Again, we totally understand people who are upset about it. I think we've probably mellowed out a little bit since then, at least the two of us. But it is what it is. We're gonna have to move forward.
Yeah.
And
Let's
it's,
talk
I
about
mean,
recruiting.
yeah, we have lots of
That's
time. So
that's what the that's what today was really about. I mean, the OU LSU thing obviously that got a lot of media attention, but I mean, there's some big news on the just in terms of what we did recruiting wise. Obviously, it's our first top 25 class since since they've started tracking it. I'm sure the 1980s when we had national championships, like that's a different kind of thing. But um, Coach Lashley opened up and he just said, "Hey, by the way, we really focus on high school recruiting. That's basically our goal is to develop our own talent. We have some great transfers coming in, but we had a huge focus on high school recruiting, particularly in DFW. We brought in 11 guys from DFW, and that's more than any other Power Four program. Of the guys in the transfer portal, of everyone that they target, that SMU targeted, and came on campus. Like only one guy showed up on campus and didn't commit to SMU. Everyone else that they targeted, invited to SMU, that came onto campus, committed to SMU. And so that's just it. Kind of goes to show that like the program's really elevated itself, taken itself to a next level where recruits and transfers just want to be here. Um, and so that was really big. Uh, Another thing that was really big on not just recruiting but just coaching staff in general. As you guys know, Coach Casey went to Missouri State. Obviously, Coach loves Casey. Doesn't want him to leave, so to speak, but he does want what's best for him. And Casey took a lot of good guys and he's going to do really well. Coach Lashley believes he's going to be a great head coach. But with that, comes new guys coming in. Coach Lashley went out and he got basically two of the best guys for that he could find in DFW. Coach Riley Dodge, South Lake Carroll head coach, 107 wins to 10 losses over the course of his head coaching career there. He's now our tight ends head coach. I got to speak with him privately after this with Rhett Lashley, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But we also brought in Kyle Ward, who is the defensive coordinator for South Lake or South Oak Cliff, and I mean he had 3 state titles, 2 national championships with South Oak Cliff, and so I mean he just brought in some really good talent that's not just going to. I mean their coaching stands on its own, as Coach Lashley said, but think about what these two schools are. I mean, you've got one of the best programs on the north side of Dallas and one of the best programs on the south side of Dallas. These guys, you basically just guaranteed you're going to get first look at a lot of these just top tier talents over the next like 4 or 5 years. And so this is just, I mean, I think it's a big win for Coach Lashley and SMU as a whole, because I think we're basically solidifying ourselves as the destination target for DFW talent, which there's just a lot of it right now. And there
Yeah,
probably will continue to be a
I
lot of
just
it.
yeah, I just wanted to add briefly. I really like what they're doing. It does seem to be kind of a trend. I think it started with Joey McGuire from he was a high school coach at Texas for a while, went to Baylor, and then obviously now at Texas Tech. And then we saw Oklahoma hire Jason Witten, who was a head coach
Mm-hmm.
in the DFW area as well. So I'm really excited. I like what you said. You hit the nail on the head. I think it's really exciting to see the people who know Dallas really well, who are going to connect well with the kids because that's been their job. And I think it's really going to work out well for us.
Yeah, absolutely. One other key thing that's not on the SMU website yet, but Derek King is going to be one of the co-offensive coordinators. If you don't know who he is, he's our quarterbacks coach. Used to play, obviously he was a baller back in the day, but now he's a quarterbacks coach, and now he's going to step into help with the offensive coordination now that Casey has taken the head coaching position at Missouri State. Um, Coach talked about some guys that were coming in. He specifically mentioned uh, Yannick, not me, obviously, but the other Yannick that's coming in as a receiver. He was really interesting because Coach Lashley referenced him he compared him to Rashee Rice coming out of his freshman year, and he basically thinks that Yannick is he's a big physical receiver, and he thinks he's got upside like Rashee did. So that's something that could be pretty exciting. He's obviously still stoked for a lot of our returning talent. Ymir Knight. Sorry, I was blanking on Ymir's name for a second, but he's excited for that. And uh, he's excited for a lot of our skill positions coming around Kevin Jennings. He thinks Kevin Jennings is going to take a really big step this year. He didn't say this specifically, but the sentiment around Kevin Jennings right now is he's now graduated. He's going to be taking a few classes as a graduate, but he's really focused on just football this year, and so he's going to have basically a full year of professional level time and development to really elevate his game to the next level. So there's an expectation that Kevin Jennings is going to take that next step, and we've got a lot of good pieces coming in around him, some really good tight ends coming in, and so that's something that we're all looking forward to in this upcoming year. In terms of positional groups, the only one that Coach Lashley referenced specifically is having, they've already kind of solidified who the leaders are. That's going to be linebacker. He said that Coach Lashley said we've got some really good leaders at linebacker in Kilgore and Miazano. But they're just kind of looking to see who's going to step up in the other position groups. And that's what I have for Coach Lashley. And then we'll get into the offensive coordinators. Ben, you want to, or not offensive coordinators, Coach Riley Dodge. Ben, you want to jump in on anything?
Yeah, I was just going to say Yannick Smith is a transfer from East Carolina, 6'3", 190. So a big body guy. Definitely someone to be excited about. I think I'm interested in seeing, probably my biggest group of intrigue is, which I know you'll talk about a little bit, is the tight end room. Obviously, we have a new coach, but losing two very high level starters, and then our third depth piece hit the portal in Adam Smith. So really interested to see what that rebuilt room looks like. I know we got a couple transfers. So I guess we'll kind of see because we really don't know at this point like what that's going to look like. But at the same time, I trust Rhett Lashley and his coaching, especially the offense. So excited to see what that's going to become. But yeah,
Awesome. Yeah, after Coach Lashley's press conference, we then went to get to chat with all the position coaches. I only had time to chat with three of them, but the first one that I went over and spoke to was Coach Riley Dodge. He's first year coach at SMU out of South Lake Carroll that I mentioned before. Um, real excited. I mean, he's basically jumping right in. We're in strength and conditioning right now, and so he's excited to actually get I guess you could say get access to his guys. But they're about to start doing spring ball. He's excited for some of the older guys like Pittman and Theo Orstrom out of A&M. He's like, these guys, they got to be like Swiss Army knives, right? Tight end position has to be the most versatile of just about any position group on offense because you have to be able to do everything from blocking to catching. It's just you got to be able to do a lot of different things. And so he likes the older guys as thinks that they have the talents that are already built in place to be those Swiss Army knives. But then he specifically mentioned Jackson as having a ton of upside. So he is really excited for Jackson coming from Texas Tech. Um, and also, I mean, Pittman and Orsham, I mean, they've got a lot of talents, but he did say that Jackson had a lot of upside. So very excited for that. I think Coach Dodge is going to do really, really well. I'll just say that. Um, and then I went over and I started talking with Coach Justice. He is our offensive line coach, and we talked about how we brought in five guys from in the O line, and each of them rated by at least one of the recruiting agencies as a 4-star. So each of these guys are top tier talent, and something that he was something that he we spoke about specifically was that we made a conscious decision to switch from looking for transfer portal guys at the O line to recruiting high school guys. What that means is like, hey, we have the guys that we need in place, but we also want to start developing our own talent, as opposed to trying to go and grab guys from other places. And that means that we're probably going to have some lumps in terms of development, because we're going to have to bring in freshmen and they're just going to have to step right into 2 deep, 3 deep kind of positions. But we're willing to kind of work with that and take a few lumps in terms of getting our guys and developing them and really getting the maximum out of them and really, like, I guess, squeezing as much juice from each of these guys that we can. Something that we talked about too, this is kind of interesting, is Coach Justice mentioned that, he made a comment. He's like, yeah, he's like, you got to think too, like O line guys are the most loyal guys in college football. You actually don't see a lot of them transfer all that much. And so if we can develop these guys, they will, they'll stick with us in a lot of cases. And I kind of asked him, why do you think that is? Why do you think that O-line guys are? And he's like, well, if you think about it, offensive line is the one position in any sport where you're facing away from the ball. Like that's the only. It's like you think about all these other sports, like basketball or any other position in football. You're always looking for the ball. You're looking for the guy with the ball. You're looking to catch the ball. Offensive line is not that way. You're by nature you're protecting guys. Like that's what you do. So it just kind of has this level of protectorship and self-sacrifice in that position that just kind of leads to O-line guys being just kind of, as in his words, like they're just the best guys. They're the guys that you want to hang around, which I thought that was really interesting. Yeah, O-line guys, make some friends with some O-line guys, and they'll do right by you. Let's see. You want to jump in on anything for Coach Justice before I talk about Coach Ward?
yeah, no, just one thing to add. I think, I think from just what we know about SMU football as well as, I think you from A&M, knowing some A&M and OU, it does feel like O lineman in the transfer portal is very hit or miss. Like
Mm-hmm.
some work out, Addison Nichols worked out, but there's still a lot of question marks on the other ones. I think I saw Paris Patterson. If I remember correctly, I think he came from Arkansas. He's back in the portal again. And then I might be getting that wrong. And then the other guy, I forget what his name was that we got last year. he was kind of inconsistent. And so it just I think going the high school route is absolutely the right option. I think plug and play starters, as you mentioned, on the offensive line in the portal are pretty rare, and when they are there, you're competing with LSU, Ole Miss, like the best schools, but also the schools that are going to pay a lot, which SMU is willing to do. But I think to some extent, if you're getting about the same money from everybody, most people that aren't connected to Texas are probably not going to choose SMU. So I think that's the right approach. So I really like to hear that.
Yeah, it probably is harder for us to get guys that are outside the state of Texas. I think DFW we have a relatively good chance to compete with any of the big schools for any guys that are here in DFW. But yeah, outside of Texas, we're not really a national brand yet, which is what Coach Lashley's trying to build towards. And I think that's one of the reasons why he was willing to do neutral site games with OU and LSU to try to get us some more national coverage. And so sometimes you got to make those sacrifices. Yeah, let's see. Coach Ward. Last position coach that I got to sit with was Coach Ward. He is also in his first year, right out of South Oak Cliff. I think it's going to be materially helpful in terms of getting defensive guys out of some of the best powerhouse programs in high school ball. Um, we talked about who we think the leadership's going to be. Coach Ward thinks that Paulie is going to be expected to take that leadership role now that Ahmad Moses is gone. Obviously we're filling a big gap in Moses, going to the draft, but he expects Paulie to take that leadership role. Talked about some other positions like nickelback and whatnot. The other positions, I think Paulie's a lock, but the other positions looks like they're still in a battle, and it's just until we start getting helmet to helmet practices in, not really sure who's going to be clear cut number ones in the other spots. As nickelback and I can't remember if Paulie plays free safety or strong safety. I think he plays strong safety. But not sure who's going to be in the free safety or nickelback positions just yet. But Coach Ward did say, he's like, honestly, what you hope for is that you got two dogs that are competing and you're just like, I don't know which one to play because both are so good. But he said on the flip side, if you have two guys that aren't showing up, just, you're not sure who to play, it's like it could be the inverse where you're a week away from the season. You're like, I don't know who we got to play. And that's the position you don't want to be in. But Coach Ward's looking forward to getting to the guys over the next week as they start getting into spring ball and kind of seeing what we have to put out there, and he feels pretty good about us going into the fall. And that's all the coaches that I had the time to talk to. I didn't get a chance. I would have liked to have talked to Coach King about Malachi Ziegler, but I didn't get the chance to talk to him. There's a couple other coaches that I would have been awesome to talk to, but they ended up rushing all the coaches out within like 25 minutes. We only had like 25 minutes total. But yeah, overall, I'd say that all the coaches are very excited and they're all really just eager to get into spring ball. That's, we're in strength and conditioning right now. But we feel really good about our class. Coach Lash said he was shocked at how quickly everything just kind of came together for SMU in terms of the transfer portal. But we're just really glad there's not another portal, and we're ready to just hit the ground running. We know the guys that we have. Let's work with what we got and let's build the program up to another level coming into the fall.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. This is the Mustang Mood. Like,
Ooh.
subscribe, share on all the socials. Yeah, it's good to be back. I've been a little bit AWOL. But yeah, we're grateful for SMU continuing to give us access. It's been really fun. Obviously, Yannick got
Yeah.
to experience that today. We have some really fun things in the pipeline. Some throwback from the older
Yes.
days coming up, which will be
Come
really
watch us
exciting.
next
So
week. It'll be a really fun one
absolutely,
next
yeah,
week.
yes. So stay tuned. Again, this is the Mustang, but thank you guys for listening. Have a great evening and pony up.
Alrighty.